Fine. So yesterday we have started with user interface and system calls. So this is the main role of an operating system. That is, operating system will have mainly user interface, system calls, and the services of an operating system. So previous class, prior to that, we have seen the services of the operating system. Then yesterday we have seen user interface, and we are in between system call. So when we come to user interface, we have two things: command line interpreter and sorry, command line interpreter and graphical user interpreter. So when we take command line interpreter, we have two things: MS-DOS and PC-DOS. And in DOS, everything will be based on commands. So we have to type the commands and we have to make the things on. Whereas in graphical user interface, everything will be done using mouse and keyboard. Then third thing we'll have is graphical and command line will be both integrated together. That is the third thing. Like for example, in Windows, we have integrated DOS. That is how it is going to be. Then next thing is what we have for mobiles. That is touch screen mobile or touch screen laptops. Even laptops are also nowadays touch screen. So these are the four types of interfaces that we have for the operating system. Then next what we have is a system calls. So in a system calls, we have seen how to take an example. Then we have to see how they are going to be integrated with application program interfaces. So these are the things are going to be user process. System will get executed, system will call, then it will execute, then it will return from the screen. Then we'll have two things: kernel mode and user mode.
User
Kern,
mode.
yeah, kernel mode is something where the program will be executed and can access the memory and hardware devices. Whereas in user mode, the program cannot execute directly and it cannot access the memory or it cannot access the resources also. Next thing is if a program is crashed in kernel mode, complete system will be altered. The program is crashed in the user mode, only that program will be altered. Then we have seen what is the system call exactly. When a program in the user mode required a memory access, then it will ask the kernel mode to, it will switch to the kernel mode. The switching is what we call as system call, right? So, and where we require the system calls, at what places we require the system calls. We require a system call for creating a file, for deleting a file, for reading the information, writing the information, for input process, for output, input, output things, for creating and managing a process, and making a internet connection, networking connection, or sending the file over the internet, and hardware access like input devices or output devices. For every simple thing, we require a system call. Okay, till here we have seen clearly yesterday. Then next what we have is we have to see the example of how the system call is going to be done. So when we come to this example, suppose I have written a program. So let us assume that I have written some simple C program where it will open a file and read the information. You might have done this program in your first year practicals if you remember. This program was in the first year practicals. To open a C file from C program, we have to open a file and read the information. So if we take that example, how many system calls we require, we'll see that today. Suppose example of a sequence system call. First thing is when I've started running the program, it has to read the information from the file. So what file it has to read? So acquire the input file name. For that we require a system call because it has to access the memory. Then next thing is it that things will be prompted on the screen. Enter the file name or enter the character, whatever it may be. So to prompt again we require what? System call. Then afterwards I'm entering something from the output screen. We'll be running a program and from the output screen we'll be entering some information into the program. For that we require a system call. Okay. Okay. Then next thing, to read that file name which is entered on the output, I require a system call. Then to open that file, I need to open that file from the C program. For opening a file, I need the system call. And while opening a file, the file might be existing, the file might not be existing. If the file does not exist, or it will abnormally terminate the program. For that, it requires a system call. If the file exists, it will open the file. So for that, it requires a system call. Then again, it will read the information from the file and write on the output file or another file. For that, it requires a system call. Once everything is written, it has to close the file. So for closing, again, it requires a system call. So you can see how many system calls are required in a simple program. For almost for every statement, for every line which is getting executed, we require a system call. System call means the program has to move from the user mode to kernel mode and from kernel mode to user mode. Clear? Followed this, everybody? All are able to follow this example?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So if we move to the next one, what are the various types of system calls? We have different types of system calls like process control, file management, device management, information maintenance, communication, protection. So we have so many types of system calls. We'll see one after the other. What are all those things? So for every system call, suppose if you come to a C language, if you have seen a C language, there were functions which are already written, something called as built-in functions in C language. Remember them? C language or C++, there are some built-in functions. Anybody remember them? What are built-in functions?
Already existing in the libraries.
Already existing in the compiler. So
Okay.
can you name some built-in functions in C or C++?
printf, scanf,
Printf, scanf, good. Then C++?
get,
C.cn.
Yes. So they are all the built-in functions which are there in C or C++. Same way, if we come to the system calls, for system calls also, that is the user has to move from the user mode to kernel mode, it will be doing using some functions only. For everything, it will use a function which are already built. So if you see the list of the functions, these are the list of the functions. For process controlling, to create a process, it will call a function called as create process. Then to close the process, exit process. Then we have a function called wait for single object. These are functions in Windows and these are functions in Unix. These are system call functions in Windows and these are system call functions in Unix. So they are different because they're completely different operating system. We have different functions. Okay. Same way if we come to file manipulations. To create a file, we have a function called create file. To read a file, read file, write file, close, handle. These are the file functions of file inbuilt functions. Then device manipulations, we have set control mode, read console, write console. Then information maintenance, we have functions like get current process ID, set timer, sleep. These are functions of information maintenance. Then communication, we have functions like create pipe, create file mapping, map view of file. And for protection and security, we have set file security, initialize file security descriptor, set security descriptor group. So these are all nothing but the functions which we use. Functions which we use for a system calls. That is, it has system call is nothing but it has to move from the user mode to kernel mode, from kernel mode to user mode. So for creating and coming back to the user mode and kernel mode. These are the various functions which we use in an operating system. Clear? Followed this, everybody? I hope everybody have followed this. Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. Fine. So here, suppose if we come to a system call, as I've said yesterday that in the previous class that the process will move from the user mode to kernel mode. So what are the steps? How it will be moving? So just I'll give an overview once again of all the steps and how the calls are going to work. This. So when we come to the steps, from the user mode, if you have seen the diagram, if you have seen the previous diagram, I'll come to the previous diagram. If you have seen this diagram here, we have 4 steps here. First step is user process execution. So what is going to happen in user process execution? What is the thing that is going to happen in user process execution? So here what happens is the process executed in user mode till the time of a system call interrupt is happening. That is, it will continue its execution until it requires a system call. When it feels that it has to require a system call, it will go on executing the things in user process execution. Then once it feels that it has to get a system call, the system call executed in the kernel mode on priority basis. So it will get the system call, that is step number 2. Once the system call execution is over, control return back to the user mode. Then execution process is resumed in the kernel mode. So it will give the information from user mode to kernel mode, and kernel mode will start executing the things and user mode will do its things. So here, when we come to the process, when we come to this process of execution, how the things are happening or how the things are going to proceed. So if we come to that point of view, just I'll open one more screen over here. Just a moment. Just give me a moment. It is opening. File is opening. Okay. So see here. So as I've said, we'll be having process control, file manager, device manager, information maintenance, communication, and protection. So these are the various things that we have. So these are the type of system calls and what are the other all the system calls which are going to work. So if you take all the functions in detail, so first when we come to something like process control. This process control, its main role is used to control the process of work. Control the process of work, which process has to execute. Suppose there are 10 programs running simultaneously. Out of these 10 programs, which program has to execute first, which program has to execute next. So the priority order is going to be maintained by the process control. So the main functions used in this are end or abort the process, load or execute the process, create a process or terminate the process, wait and signed events, allocate and free memory. In the previous slide, I have shown you the functions. So apart from this, these are also other functions which are used for process control. So the main duties, here we can observe that the main duty of the process controller, it is used to create a process, it is used to close a process, it is used to load a process, it is used to execute a process, then terminate the process, waiting where it can keep a process in a wait mode, then allocate the memory. All those things are done by process control. Then when we come to the file manager system call, the file manager, as we know, it is mainly used to create the files in a computer. The main duty of the file manager is to create the files in a computer memory. If I want to create a file, suppose if I want to create a file in the phone, how will create the file? Same. So that file, how it has been created? By using something called as file manager system call. So it can create a file, it can delete a file, it can open a file, it can close a file, it can read the data, it can write the data, it can set the attributes. Attributes are nothing but reading permission, write permission, closing permission. All those things are what we call as attributes. So that file manager permission is done by file manager system call. Then next what we have is device managers. Device manager is nothing but whatever the devices which are connected in a computer. It can be any device. It can be a memory device. It can be a output device. It can be any device which is connected. So the main function of this is reading the data from the device manager, writing the data into the buffer. Buffer is nothing but it is also kind of temporary storage. Yes, good. That is a simple example we can take is RAM. It can request and release the data from the temporary storage. It can write the data, it can get the data, it can relieve the data. So all those things are done by device manager. Then information maintenance. That is whatever data I am storing, it has to be maintained with the log. Log is nothing but suppose I have created a file. At what time I have created a file? If I have opened a file, at what time I have opened a file? If I have closed a file, at what time I have closed the file? If I have logged into a computer, which user has logged in? All the data of the information according to date and time, it is going to maintain the things. That is what is the information maintenance system call. Then next what we have is communication. Communication is nothing but it is an inter process. That is, one process has to communicate with another process. Suppose simple example. In a mobile, I have opened a YouTube player. So what are the things YouTube player requires? It requires my speaker and it has to display the video. At the same time, if I get a phone call, what will happen? YouTube will automatically get paused and I'll receive a phone call. Yes or no? This happens normally in a mobile. That is, the process has to communicate with another process. YouTube process has to communicate with the phone process, mobile incoming call process. So that inter-process communication also must happen. So for that we have something like communication system call. It can create a process, can delete a process, it can receive the information, send the information, it can do various things. So what are these are the few rules. Like as and how they want, they cannot do the things. It has few rules. Here are general rules. Like parameters should be pushed or pop out of the stack. I hope everybody know what is a stack. You might have come across these terms in Max. Stack is pushing and popping. Pushing and popping is done from the same end, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if a process is working, suppose YouTube player is working. If I receive a phone call, what must happen? YouTube player must be popped out and phone call has to be popped in. Yes, good. So that is what it has to do, popping and pop out. Then parameters can be passed in a register. That is suppose if I receive a phone call, what are the resources it requires? If a YouTube player is there, what resources it requires? Those parameters has to be given. When there are more than one parameter required, it should show in a block. Like for example, if we take a YouTube player requires a parameter like audio device, then it also requires memory device. All those set of devices must be in a block. Then it can work together. Then apart from this, there are also some other functions uh, which will be of helpful, which will be of use by all the system calls, not only one or two, all the system calls. Like we have a function called as wait. Wait is nothing but, as I've said in the just example, when I receive a phone call, YouTube player will be paused. That is, it will be put in wait mode. That is what is called as waiting. So the suspension of the parent process automatically occurs when a wait system calls. That is, when I get a call, YouTube is automatically suspended for some time. That is what is called as wait. And child process will be executed at that time. So your child process is nothing but getting a phone call. Parent process is YouTube player. So it depends. It can be child, it can be parent, it can be anything. So when a process is executed, that is parent process. If it has to be altered, then we'll be waiting that and child process will be executed. Then we have a function called as fork. Process uses system calls to create a process that a copy of themselves. That is, I need to create a copy of one process and make it into another process. That is when we take a parent and child process. Parent process is duplicated to create a child process. Excuse. So those kind of things are done using fork, copying, duplication of the things. Then execute. The system calls runs when an executable file in the content of already running process that replaces an older executable file. Simple example I'll give you. Suppose I've done a C program. I've compiled, run it, and executed it. Then I've made some changes to the C program and I'll run the same program again. Then what is happening? Same program is executed again with some changes. So older executable file is replaced with new executable file by using a function called exec. So every time whenever I modify the changes and run a program, it will not create a new process. The older file will be replaced with the new file. Okay, following this everybody. Then we have functions like kill, exit. Kill is used to kill the process. Exit is used to terminate the program executing. Get the difference between kill and exit. Kill is used by OS to terminate a signal to process that are used. That is, the process which is executing, it will close the connection. It is not terminating the process. Whereas exit will terminate the execution of a program. Okay. So these are all the functions which already I have shown you how they are going to work in Windows and Unix. I hope everybody have followed this topics, how they are going to work in Unix and how they are going to work in Windows.